Hanaway, coming off a terrific game and the huge win over Londonderry last week. Jack, you've always sort of been a complimentary player with the Pinkerton offense. You really stole the show last week, 152 yards rushing in the first half for a quarterback, almost a historic performance. How did that all transpire like that?
Well, it was all the defense focusing on our bigger backs, TJ Urbanek and Peter Sear. And when that happens, it opens up the outside for different players, and I was one of the beneficiaries of that one. And the good thing about when I'm able to get outside is it opens things back up in the middle. So, and good thing the line played well again, like they did all season long, and that really opened things up for us.
Did you know, Jack, going into the game that there was a good chance that you were going to really be an impact player?
There's always a opportunity, but it was pretty much just like any other week. Practice no different than any other week. Game plan wise, it was a little different, but other than that, I mean, we always try to get our key players the ball, and luckily this week it was to get me the ball a little bit more, especially when they're clogging up the middle for TJ.
What, put into words, Jack, if you would, the intensity, the passion, the history of that Pinkerton-Londonderry rivalry, the neighboring towns, and Londonderry, I guess, went to Pinkerton forever and ever back in the day. What is that like?
There's really nothing like it. Having a big rivalry is there's really nothing like it, especially in football, and it goes back, before anyone around here was born. So I think it's a big part of what we do here, and it's good to have one big rival to look forward to in the season. Luckily, we got to play them in the playoffs again. We always like to play Londonderry, and we got our second shot, even though we beat them pretty good. We know they're gonna always put up a good contest for us. So there's nothing like it, especially in football.
And a longtime great rival, Bishop Girton, in the next round this weekend. Although Bishop Girton not quite the same team in the post Tony Johnson era, you guys have flattened everybody in sight since the early season close one against Salem. How do you keep the spirits up, keep the confidence up, not be overconfident when you play a team with 5 losses like BG?
Yeah, well, it's all a mental thing. We can never take anyone lightly, especially Bishop Girton. They've gone 4 or 5 games straight for wins, so they're definitely where they should be, well deserved, and especially when they get a couple key players back later in the season. It's something we can't take lightly. I mean, it's just a mental thing that we have to overcome. It doesn't matter what the outcome was the first time. We just got to keep our game and keep doing what we do.
Talking to Coach O'Reilly a little bit, he says you're going to be stunned with Jack, how poised he is. He's 17, 18, going on 30. So yeah, where does that translate into the classroom? You getting those great grades of someone so polished? We might expect.
I try my best, especially on the field and in the classroom. It rolls over on the field and the classroom. Doesn't matter. I do what I need to do, and I try to keep composure and keep confidence even when times go bad. Especially during the beginning part of the Londonderry game, we had a few costly turnovers. I just try to take those out of my mind, just forget about those, and it translates onto the football field and as well as in the classroom.
And now, how did you end up at Pinkerton? You're not from the school district, are you?
No, I go to Bedford. Or I live in Bedford. Sorry. And it was really a decision for me that I could go really Bedford, Pinkerton. And I just felt Pinkerton was the best fit for me. My brother actually went here before I was here, and so I thought it would be a good fit both athletically and academically.
And you never know how things play out, but a lot of people think the 2 best teams in the entire state of New Hampshire are one Bedford High School and one Pinkerton Academy.
Yep.
How interesting would that be if you were to ultimately square up for the title?
That would be quite something. I mean, it's always good to play against kids. I've been playing with Bedford kids, since I was 7 when I started playing football. So it'd be something special for me, especially going out last game of my high school career, especially playing against a lot of the kids that I grew up with.
Okay. Congratulations on everything, Jack. Good luck against BG. Thank you. George Martinez, the star two-way lineman for Whittier Tech, our lineman of the week on the Eagle Tribune Thursday football show. George, I don't know if Coach Bradley can last much longer because I've had two sort of legendary last-minute two-point conversion stops in back-to-back weeks to win both games in thrilling fashion. Coach said you helped blow up both plays. Take us through these stunning finishes in the last couple of weeks.
Well, I was just trying to execute and do what I had to do. Playoff football comes around. You really have to tighten up your grip and know what you're doing on the field.
Is that a fun atmosphere? You're nervous as can be out there? What's it like when, if you make the play, maybe you advance? Well, if you don't, the season's over and thanks for everything.
Well, you normally get the pregame jitters. Everything after that it just sort of wears off. When the crowd is packed like it was on the past 2 Saturdays, it gets really nervous.
And, Coach Bradley was raving about you, George, and one thing he said, you guys hit a bit of a dip in the middle of the season, and he was wondering if you guys could have gone one or two ways. He said you were a tremendous leader and really was pushing. Guys, it's man-up philosophy here. Tell us how you helped lead the team in the right direction.
I just sort of helped everybody work harder. I mean, all these kids get pushed to their limits in school. That's sort of the good thing about a tech school is you could get pushed to the limit in the classroom and on the football field. And that's what I tried to instill in my teammates.
And George, you're a Methuen kid?
Yeah, I am.
And so I'm sure a lot of schools would have loved to have had Methuen High and Greater Lawrence and Central and Whittier. How did you decide on Whittier?
Well, Coach Bradley had been one of my coaches since I was 8 years old, and he sort of nudged me to go here. And I heard about the football team in 2009, and that sort of swayed my decision to pick Whittier.
Wise decision, I would say, how it's worked out for you and for Whittier. Massive challenge this week, a massive in every sense of the word. Bishop Fenwick, one of the biggest teams in the state. Rufus Russians. What do you think when you hear that name, George?
Well, it sort of fits his profile because he's a fast kid, he's a big kid. But there's not many times in your life where you could be an underdog, and everybody likes being the underdog. So we'll see this week. One
of the leading rushers in state history, Rufus. 16 TDs, 1,300 yards this year, and I think he put up bigger numbers last year. 220-pound kid, everybody raving about him. How do you stop? How do you slow down a kid like that?
Well, it's sort of hard to stop a kid like that. I mean, on the defensive side of the ball, we all have to play discipline to stop him, clog the holes, and tackling was another big issue.
You mentioned it's always good to be the underdog, us versus them. Let's face it, you guys are the underdog in this one. I think they have a state-leading 25-game unbeaten streak, defending state champs. How do you pull off an upset like that?
Like I said, we have to play discipline on both sides of the football. I mean, it comes down to 22 guys putting all they have into 44 minutes of football. So we'll see how it goes on Friday.
Who do you have? Is there someone you've looked up to in your football career, George? Sort of an inspiration, role model?
I mean,
type?
I sort of look up to everybody. I mean, a bunch of my big role models are practically on this team right now. I mean, it takes a lot of guts to come out, put the shoulder pads on when it's 40 degrees outside. So
you're lucky. How about getting some decent weather? You're not getting.
Yeah. Well, it's going to be snowy on Friday, so.
You like that?
Yeah.
As a two-way line. Hey, how about George? How you doing in the classroom? I know you guys have a very bright team with Connor Bradley, #1 in the entire class, class president. Yamin, his right-hand man, #2. Are you keeping up that tradition as well?
I'm not as smart as Yamin and Connor, but I'm pretty up there. I have a 3.8 GPA, so I'm going to keep that going.
Congratulations. And what's the atmosphere around the school? You guys have the tradition. It's become sort of an annual thing, but you guys are one of the few teams left in our area still playing. What's it like around the Tech?
It's definitely intense. We have a lot of people coming out saying good job, and a lot of people coming out to wish us on Friday. So.
Well, let me be the latest. Good job, and wish you well on Friday.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to the Eagle Tribune High School Football Show. This is Mike Muldoon. I am Dave Willis. And Mike, the road to Gillette and for New Hampshire, the road to UNH is getting mighty short. We are almost there. We're only a few games away. We're 1 win away from this New Hampshire State Championship games, 2 away from the Mass. And so we have a really, really important week of high school football coming up. Let's dive right in here to the big game. Not to downplay any other games, but it's hard to get any bigger than this here. It is Haverhill going to North Andover. A fascinating game because I've seen these two teams a few times. Let me say, I still have no idea how North Andover beat them 34-0. I'm not saying I'm shocked North Andover beat them the first time around, but 34-0, I never in a million years could have thought that was going to happen. But they come around. It's the rematch now in the North Finals. What do you think, Mike?
I, like you, having a tough time with this one. I've gone back and forth and back and forth, and then I thought maybe I'm just overanalyzing it. Hasn't North Andover won 4 straight via shutout?
Mm-hmm.
Didn't they beat Haverhill 34-0? Didn't they counteract Haverhill's great strength with equally terrific line play? Obviously, it was more terrific line play by Yanni Falaris and Co. The first time they went head-to-head. So isn't Sami Al-Ziab out for Haverhill? So then, yeah, maybe it's just North Andover. I also wonder, maybe it's really going to be a fired-up North Andover squad. They're going through some tough times in that football community there with the legendary Andrew Foote really in difficult shape these days. So that's a really tough situation. His brother's a great star, the last of the brothers, James, at North Andover. So I think they'll be really fired up and would maybe like to have a little bit of the great Andrew Foote in their hearts and maybe give a little bit more inspiration.
No question, no question. They're definitely an emotionally charged game. And just when you look at the stats, last game, North Andover held Haverhill to 42 yards rushing. Haverhill is a pound-it offense between, in a phone booth kind of team. And now, like you said, they don't have Sami Al-Ziab, who's probably their toughest runner on top of being a fantastic blocker. North Andover has, like you said, the equally good line. Plus, they have a few game breakers. You got to think North Andover's the favorite in this one.
Yeah, I'm not really sure on Brian Nichols' status for North Andover. Obviously, he's a game breaker, but Bubba and James Foote really stepped it up big time with a different look on the offense, getting the carries last week, and they were still able to come out on top without their traditional game breaker.
So, prediction, I'm going North Andover. I imagine you are also.
I am too. It's one heck of a thing. It wouldn't stun me in the least to see Haverhill win. I'll go with North Andover, 17-14, a tight one, go with the Knights.
Incredible comeback I saw from Haverhill last week, but it's going to take an even more incredible performance in this one. Okay, and we're going to stay on Friday night, and in fact, we are going to stay with the same Haverhill community. Whittier is playing host to a really good Bishop Fenwick squad, which has a great offense and is only allowing 7.4 points a game on defense. Mike, take me through this one.
Yeah, statistically, they might be the most dominant team for any division in the state. I believe it's a state-leading 25-game unbeaten streak for Bishop Fenwick. They have Rufus Russians. He makes every all-name team. You're always playing a Russians roulette whenever you go against him. And I think he's got like 5,000 career yards. He's got 1,300 this year and 16 TDs. He's a 6-foot, 220-pound bruiser. It'd be awfully tough for Whittier to pull it off. They surprised a lot of people this year. I don't know. That Fenwick is just a really dominant program at this point with Russians in the backfield.
We were at Whittier today, and they know that they have a tough task against Russians. If there's a team that can do it in that division, I do think it's Whittier. But I'm going to have to go with Bishop Fenwick in this one.
Yeah, 25 straight is 25 straight, and Russians is Russians.
We're going to skip over to Saturday quickly, and we're going to go up to New Hampshire for the lock of the week. For the lock of the season, if I could use the old Picks cliche here, we've got Hollis Brookline going to Wyndham. And Mike, I got a couple of numbers for you. 56-0. 56-0 was the score the last time these two teams played. And it wasn't last season. It wasn't 5 seasons ago. It was this season. It was the opener of this season, 56-0. And let's face it, Wyndham's only gotten better since then.
Yeah.
This could be, the most disappointing state semifinal. Disappointing not for Wyndham, of course. This could be a totally dominant game. And I got the feeling it's definitely going to be.
Yeah, you would think. HB with a nice little mini upset over Sanborn last week, but how often do you improve 57 points during the course of the year unless Peyton Manning transferred to moved into Hollis or something, has an extra year of eligibility from his Newman prep days. I would say even if Wyndham played poorly, that they'd win by 20 points.
Talked to Joe Frake the other day. This is a very confident, very poised team. This is a team, and I talked at length with Frake about this, and I mentioned it in my story that's in today's paper. They know that they've rolled through the regular season. They know that they haven't been contested basically at all to go all the way to 9-0. And they're not puffing out their chest and going, well, we're just going to beat them. We're Wyndham. We're going to roll over everybody. This is a team that has been told time after time, you haven't had it hard. You haven't had to overcome adversity. Adversity's coming at some point. Whether it's internally, externally, and if you don't show up, this is a team. There's still a Hollis Brookline team that can beat you. So this isn't a terribly overconfident team, but they have a lot to be confident about. This is Wyndham in a blowout. Is going to be my pick.
Yeah, I wouldn't think Hollis has as much of a chance at all.
Another game that could be a little one-sided is another place that we went this week. We got Pinkerton playing host to Bishop Girton. A couple years ago, Mike, we would have said, ooh, Pinkerton, Bishop Girton. Now this is a matchup. This is a Bishop Girton, the team that's 5-5, and lost to Pinkerton 35-12, and it was 35-0 at one point. We got to look at Pinkerton today, and they're just looking good.
Yeah, I mean, there's no rebuilding at Pinkerton. They've, been at the top or number 2. The only interesting side note on that, BG has won 4 straight. Yeah, so after 1-5 start to go 5-5, that's a pretty nice little accomplishment. Whether that's a product of some inferior competition, and often it is, as we well know, or they've really changed things around. Who knows?
And so, Pinkerton?
Yeah, we'll say, we'll go with Pinkerton 42-14.
I agree. Okay, the last postseason game is a prep bowl game. It's the Sean Brennan Bowl, which is going to have Westminster in Connecticut traveling to Brooks. We got to battle of a couple 6-2 teams. What did you find about Westminster in this?
Yeah, my scouting, thank you, Max Preps, is always very detailed and Steve Belichick-esque scouting I do on them. And I did notice 2 things. They struggled last week against Pomfret, who only has 2 wins. It was 22-16. Week before, Cheshire, I think, is a real superpower. It was 63-12. So just based on those numbers, we will go with the Brooksies. The green and white will say we'll take it.
Okay, now we get a look at the non-playoff games, the consolation games. We're going to go back to Friday real quick. Greater Lawrence is traveling to Lowell Catholic. Boy, the Reggies have had a couple tough ones against Whittier this season. I think the Reggies can bounce back.
Yeah, and the Reggies, they threw a terrific scare, obviously, last week. Named to watch for in Lowell Catholic, Jackson Callahan from Andover. He's the great broadcaster and writer Jerry Callahan's son, bruising 6'3", 210 pound defensive end, really talented kid. Be tough for him to pull off the upset, but he'll be all over the field like usual.
Okay, and we have Methuen playing their best game ball of the season, going to Acton-Boxborough. Methuen's 3-6, Acton-Boxborough's 5-4. I think Methuen's got a little bit of spark here. They've got some guys back. I think Methuen's gonna roll in this one.
Yeah, and it's interesting. I don't know, just that AB tradition. I'm a big tradition guy. Obviously, some of those guys graduate, but they seem to be always there under Coach Maver. Love the Kendrick Denos to Connor Donovan combination with the emerging stars for the Rangers. But you know what? I think AB takes it still.
But, all right, and we go one more to Lowell at Lawrence. Lowell's lost 5 straight. Lawrence lost the heartbreaker to Methuen. I think Lowell's just done. I think Lawrence comes in and rolls up a huge number offensively against them.
Yeah, you're always with Lowell's tradition tempted to say Lowell's going to take it, but to go from 4-0 and 4th in the entire state by ESPN Boston ahead of Central Catholic and to lose 5 straight, sort of mind-boggling. Who knows what's happening up there, but it doesn't seem good. So we'll say Nelson, Milwaukee, Valerio, and co. Keep on breaking the passing numbers and put it to the Red Raiders.
Next up, we have Andover traveling to Lexington. Lexington's 5-4. They ended the regular season not in good fashion. They lost 4 out of 5 before beating up on a team 41-0, Malden 41-0 last week. Andover's beaten up, obviously. Andover's worn down. They lost a lot of players to injury, but they keep winning. They keep doing well. I think Andover's going to win this one.
Yeah, and I don't know. It's definitely one of these that could clearly go either way. Just get a funky vibe about a 10 a.m. game. You're talking high school kids. You're going to Lexington. That's a pretty good haul. It's tough to begin with. That extra hour's sleep or so that Lexington gets. 2 weeks ago, they did play a terrific game. Overtime loss to PBD, which has been red hot. Almost knocked off Everett. Go mini upset. Go with the Minutemen.
We have Central Catholic hosting Peabody. Peabody very tough, 7-2. They've allowed 10.4 points a game. But what concerns me most is if Central can recover from that St. John's Prep game.
Yeah, that was a pretty devastating loss. It's high school football. They played a terrific team. It might end up St. John's might be the best team in the state. Clearly a very disappointing performance for Central, and they'll be the first one to tell you. But you lick your wounds, and I just wonder, never mind the mental state of Central, I think maybe just perhaps Peabody's one heck of a team.
Yep.
They've been down for a long time in the post-Nizwintowski era. They got the Betancourt, former BC pitcher there, Betancourt coaching them. He's from the Betancourt bloodlines with Dave Betancourt, of course, the great Salem and Andover and Central Catholic baseball coach. Really has that program back on track. Threw a big scare into Everett last week. Wondering if maybe Peabody's just got a heck of a team this year, and I think the way they played last week, and maybe go with them again to take down the Raiders.
I talked to Chuck A for a while after that game about how much he wanted, felt like his team could bounce back, and they wouldn't pull like what a Lowell has and just sort of. I think Central comes back and wins this one. You're right about PD. It's a very good team, but I think Central wants a little revenge, and I don't think they're ready to quite give up on their season. A couple more. We got Austin Prep at 5-4 going to Georgetown. Austin Prep's going to win this.
Yeah, I would think they would too.
Yeah. And we close out the slate with Pentucket playing host to Arlington Catholic. Arlington Catholic is 5-4. Pentucket's coming off not a good loss to North Reading. But Arlington Catholic's allowing 30.2 points a game. I think if we get the Pentucket, the beat Newburyport, the beat North Reading 2 weeks ago, I think Pentucket's going to win. They can't give the same effort they gave against North Reading last week, but I think Pentucket comes back and wins this.
I don't know what to make of all these numbers. 56-6. I'm going with Pentucket.
Okay, so we got some big games in both states. Not just Mass, not just New Hampshire. We got big games going into both. The chance to make a state championships right in there. I'll be going to some games, Mike. I think you should too.
I'll be there,
and
man.
I think you guys should too.